Show ahead of Super Bowl 57 from the amazing Gallery Bar, booking games, our home all season long for your Eagles pregame, halftime, and postgame coverage. My name is Mark Farzetta, along with Eagles Hall of Famer Mr. Seth Joyner and veteran Eagles reporter Derek Gunn, as well as Sports Take as well.
I don't get a mister?
You don't get a mister? No.
He's a Hall of Famer, so he gets mister.
He's a Hall of
Famer.
Famer. Yeah. I'll draw the line at Hall of Famer versus veteran.
Good afternoon, D. Gunn.
Did you write the script?
The uncomparable D. Gunn.
No,
How's that?
Like See, learn something from him.
Well, you know what? Maybe say something nice about how I'm a good fisherman every once in a while. Huh?
You are
I'll work in a mister.
You are an exceptional fisherman today.
What? Oh, wow. Just so I could. The incredible Mr. Derek Gunn on today's broadcast as well.
Oh,
and
man.
fellas, I know we could go back to the beginning of the season and we could talk about how great this Eagles football team is and how great they have played all season long. But really, before the season kicked off, did you think for a second that we would be here for Super Bowl 57, getting ready to watch the Eagles take on, of course, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs? Gunner, did you ever think it?
Well, when you look at the way Howie Roseman constructed
Liar.
this roster, wait.
Oh.
I said
Already out of
Howie.
the
Wait. When you looked at how Howie Roseman constructed this roster when they kicked off the season, you said they had potential. We talked about how there was really no dominant team in the NFC when you really stacked it up, so they had as good a chance as any. When it comes to Kansas City, and the Kansas City organization is the first one foremost to tell you, they didn't expect to be here. This is a team that went through a lot of transformation. This is a team that counted on 6 to 8 rookies throughout this season to get here. You lose a Tyreek Hill, you lose the ability to stretch the field the way they've done so well in the past. They brought in bits and pieces from other teams. A Kadarius Toney from the Giants, a Marcus Valdez-Scantling from Green Bay, okay? Juju Smith-Schuster from Pittsburgh. So they put in a bunch of parts hoping to equal the sum of what they got. Nobody thought this team would win 16 games. But what it goes to show you, it's about more than just Patrick Mahomes. It's about the organization and, of course, the structure of both their offense and defense, Seth.
Well, I don't think anybody in their right mind could see this. Let's start with Kansas City first. You have Kansas City losing Tyreek Hill via trade. And as great of a coach and as great as of a quarterback as you see Patrick Mahomes being, you have no inkling, no idea, you're in your right mind that they could be back in this position, especially the way that they started off. The way they started the season off, we kind of looked at them and thought that, there might be a change into the guard a la the Cincinnati Bengals. But in classic fashion, they get it together. Patrick Mahomes winds up setting a record for passing yards in the season without Tyreek Hill, just methodically moving the ball down the field, converting first down, so on and so forth. Now, he's MVP. If you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, I would say, we thought that they were going to be a better football team. But the Super Bowl? I mean, if anybody who is an Eagles fan said that they thought that the Eagles were going to make it to the Super Bowl, in my opinion, they just flat out lying. We thought that they'd be better, and we thought that they could probably dominate the majority of the teams in the NFC, but, we didn't count on Green Bay having a down year. San Francisco having quarterback problems, and I'm not making an excuse for them. We just kicked their ass. I'm tired of y'all complaining about that. So on and so forth. But it really doesn't matter about the prognostication of where we thought they'd be or what people thought they could do. Jalen Hurts has flipped the script on himself and made a lot of naysayers and haters, kind of eat their words. And I don't usually share this kind of information. Like, I'm not a real lucid dreamer. It's very rarely do I remember dreams. But last week I had a dream that the damn Eagles won back-to-back championships.
Wow.
They had back-to-back. And if they win today, I'm going straight to the window and put 1,000 on them to win next year.
Can you front me 1,000 too? I'll give it back to you later in the year.
Hey, just as long as you pay the juice, you can get it.
There you go. All right, there you go.
We're already set, and we already have our first Eagles chant. You probably heard it while Derek Gunn was giving his opening statement as well. That's number one, and I'm sure we will have plenty more as the show goes on. And as the show goes on, we'll be headed out to Arizona to talk to our friend John McMullen NFL insider for JAKIB Media. We'll also be joined by Adam Malamont. He'll be joining us. He joined us from the field ahead of the divisional round game against the New York Giants, so look forward to hearing from him. And Joe Mesa and his amazing, absolutely incredible tailgate out in Arizona will be joining us from Arizona as well. Now when it comes to schematics, how the Kansas City Chiefs will defend against the Philadelphia Eagles. Seth, we've known Steve Spagnuolo for a long time here in Philadelphia, just about as long as we've known Andy Reid as well. But when it comes to defending against Jalen Hurts, what do you think that this Chiefs defense will do to throw Hurts and this offense off their game?
Well, I think they want to keep him behind the sticks is what they want. They want to force him to have to throw the football, and if they can force him to throw the football, I think they, with Steve Spagnuolo's creativity and ingenuity, they feel like at certain times of the game they can bring pressure and disrupt them. But the equalizer, in my opinion, is the running game. Okay, the Eagles are averaging 44 runs over the last two postseason games for 148 yards and 3.5 touchdowns per game over two. It would be absolutely criminal for Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen to come in here and do anything other than what's got them there. And just to give you a little stat to back up the fact that the run game hasn't gone anywhere. People think that you got to throw it. You got to throw it to win. Yeah, you got to throw it and run it in order to win. You can't just be dominant throwing the ball and think you're going to win football games or championships. But listen to this. The team that finished with the most rushing touchdowns in the last, 55 games in the Super Bowl, 41-14 record. That's the most rushing yards. You want to hear something else that just absolutely blow your mind? The team with the most running plays in the Super Bowl, 47-7. Okay? So now, for all you pundits and all you guys out there, Jalen Hurts only threw for 122 games in the divisional yards in the divisional game. And then he turned around and he only threw for 154 yards in the NFC Championship. Yeah, but they won. And do you really care how they win, as long as they win? If that's their formula, let it be their formula. Because if you can dominate the line of scrimmage, and if you can dominate the line of scrimmage against the San Francisco 49ers, you sure as hell can dominate it against the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, I'm telling you right now, do not come out here, Eagles staff, and do anything other than what's got you here. We watched the San Francisco 49ers throw a championship away to this same Kansas City Chiefs team a couple of years ago when the Chiefs won the first Super Bowl they were in. Okay, they dominated the preseason the same way that we were running the ball for 208 yards a game. They did the same exact thing. Then he got in the championship and handed the ball to Jimmy Garoppolo and asked him to throw it 40 times, and he lost the damn game. Come out and run the football. Establish the run. I'm not saying that A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith aren't weapons that you must utilize today, but you got to establish the fact that every single time that Jalen Hurts stick that ball out, we want to make sure that we freeze and make sure that he's throwing that ball. That's going to give him extra time to get the ball down the field, but also establish the running game and make them play honest defense.
I mean, you could look at this offense, both offenses, Gunner, for instance, and you could look at number 1, number 3. They're all top 3 in pretty much every category when it comes to the Chiefs and the Eagles. Just to go down those numbers, you look at points per game, the Chiefs right there at number 1, Eagles are number 3. You look at yards per game, the Eagles are number 3, the Chiefs are number 1. But the most glaring difference is the run game. The Eagles' run game is a top 5 run game in the entire NFL. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, you're looking at only top 20 right there. So how much will the clock, bleeding the clock, running the football, owning time of possession, how much will that play in today's game?
When you have two offenses that can explode at any given moment, the defensive mindset and the coaching mindset is get your defense off the field quick and make sure your offense controls the clock, because when you're controlling the clock, that other offense is not getting on the field. If the Eagles are controlling the clock, Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, led the NFL in both passing yards and touchdowns, is not getting on the field. If the Eagles are controlling the clock, that means Jalen Hurts is doing his job. Jalen Hurts, who finished number 2 in the MVP voting, is doing his job. They're not letting Patrick Mahomes get back on the football field. I think it's imperative for the Eagles to try to control this clock. But I'm going to add to what Seth said. his blueprint is sound in terms of the best way to keep Patrick Mahomes and that offense off the field. Run the football. They ran the football 44 consecutive times in both playoff games. But, Seth, I have a feeling that Nick Sirianni is going to come out trying to throw the football because on the back end of Kansas City's defense, they've rotated 4 rookies they drafted this year. Now, when you get to this point of a season, you're not a rookie anymore. They went through growing pains early in the season. But after I talked to a couple of friends of mine in Kansas City, from mid-December on, these kids have held up their own on the back end. What they've been able to do has far exceeded what the organization expected from a bunch, not one, not two, but a quartet of first-year defenders on the back end. That's a significant reason why the Chiefs are here where they are today, because of the play on those guys in the back end. It's going to be interesting to see, is Nick Sirianni going to run the football, or is he going to try to take it to the air and try to test those young defensive backs?
Well, I mean, it's no doubt in my mind he's going to come out early and throw the ball. The first play of the game, if I was a bettor, I'd go walk to that window right now and put a prop bet up that they're going to throw the ball on the first play. and it might be a slant to A.J. Brown. Okay, I'd even go that far. I might even parlay it. Yeah. But at some point in time, the thing I give the Eagles coaching staff a lot of credit for is that when the passing game hasn't worked early, they've been smart enough to make the transition back to the running game to get back to the passing game. Now, the team can beat you both ways. They can beat you running it, and they can beat you throwing it. But I think they're a much more effective offense when they're doing both and they're in balance. The reason I say come out and establish the run right away, because this Chiefs team, I was just looking at the stat a minute ago. I don't know what they rank. They give up like 119 yards a game, 115 yards a game, rushing. But that number is really skewed because the Chiefs' offense is averaging 28.7 points per game. They're tied with the Eagles, for points per game. So when you're averaging that many points in a game, your opponents are throwing the ball a lot more than they really have to. It's really the same picture over there with the Eagles, because the Eagles are giving up 121 yards per game. So to me, it really comes down to the team who's willing to commit to the run, and kind of dominate time of possessions. I've been saying, for the last 2 weeks, if Patrick Mahomes gets 10 or more possessions, I think it's trouble for the Eagles. They've got to figure out a way to hold this game to 8 to 9 possessions apiece. Anything in double digits, it's just a problem. You're giving him too many opportunities. We want the defense has got to get at least 2, maybe 3 punts in this game, and they got to force at least 1 or 2 field goals in this game. Now, if you hold them to 8, okay, that's only 3 other opportunities to throw to actually score. Okay, and when you hear my prediction later on, you'll understand why I'm predicting the game. Where it is. When you do the simple math, you see it and you understand it. But once you start getting over 10 possessions, now all of a sudden, the Kansas City Chiefs are scoring in the mid to upper 30s. And that's just in my opinion, even though I think the Eagles can score against anybody, I just don't, I don't like the Eagles winning this game if Kansas City is scoring 38 or more points. I just don't.
No, I agree with you there. And I think what you're alluding to is again, going back to time of possession. I think what you have to do in this game, and I think the biggest advantage in the Eagles' favor in this game, when you look at how closely matched these teams are, one is defensively, but when you look at just points allowed per game, they're only separated by 1 point through the regular season as of right now. So when you look at that, that's something that jumps out. They're not that far off, even though I do believe the Eagles have the better defense. Even in sacks, you can talk about the Eagles being the number 1 team in the entire NFL, while the Chiefs are number 2. Although they're at 55, while the Eagles are at 70, so it's still a big glaring difference there. But when it comes to the offense, it's going to come down to controlling the time of possession and making sure you're not giving those extra opportunities that you're talking about, Seth, to Patrick Mahomes in order to burn you, essentially.
So let's take it a step further, D-Gun, okay? Yep. So how do you control that? You got to look at Kansas City's offense and really look at what they try to do. Up until this year when they lost, Tyreek Hill, they were a dink and dunk, catch you falling asleep, they hit you over the top. They really wanted to push the ball down the field. If you look at Patrick Mahomes, I don't think they really pushed the ball all that much down the field this year. You know, they're trying to move the chains. They're trying to, you know, like if you go back to Brady back, you know, when the Patriots moved from a defense-dominated team to an offensive-dominated team after, I want to say, their second Super Bowl, what Tom Brady was doing, checking it down to the back out of the backfield, utilizing the tight ends, you know, running the ball, checking to run plays in obvious passing situations, because what they wanted to do is they want to control the clock, and they want to make sure that they're going to score every single possession. That is the same exact method that you now see Patrick Mahomes deploying. So the question is, D-Gun, how do you stop it? To me, the key is going to be Travis Kelce. And I know we're going to get into him, but I kind of lob that over to you because he is the guy. He ranks 4th in the NFL on third down catches for first downs with 22 over the season. There's not even another tight end that's in the top 30. And he's second in the AFC.
You're not going to stop Travis Kelce. He's going to get his.
You better figure out a way to stop him, especially on third down.
There's a way to control him. The best way to try to control him is try to mix up your coverages at the snap of the ball. Make Patrick Mahomes – you don't fool Patrick Mahomes, first of all, but you got to make him somehow feel that this guy's going to be covering Kelce, drop him off and bring somebody down. I think C.J. Gardner-Johnson has the best chance of covering Kelce in this game, unless the Eagles decide to go with a nickel defense, which I don't think they will. Avonte Maddox cannot cover Travis Kelce. He's too small to cover him, okay? I don't think they're going to bring a corner over to cover him. Maybe they'll mix it up occasionally. I don't think Bradbury or Slay are going to come over and exclusively cover Travis Kelce. You're going to get him. How many years have we watched people try to stop Travis Kelce? I go back to a game earlier this season. People are like, wow, Travis Kelce only had 20-something yards in a game receiving. You look at the stats, he had 4 touchdown catches. So somehow, some way, he's going to find a way to be effective. Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy are going to find a way to make him effective in the offense. He may not kill you with 100 yards, but like you just said, he will kill you with a first down. He will kill you with a short yardage situation. Jonathan Gannon has got to find a way to disguise his coverages a little bit better, because that offense, when you go to the passing game, first and foremost, starts with Mahomes to Kelce.
I know we've been talking a lot about numbers a lot, and I got a number that might make you both feel better about going up against Travis Kelce today. But as of right now, we want to hear from one of our great sponsors at Del Val.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
Thank you once again to our friends at Delaware Valley Insurance. Now, what if I told you, gentlemen, that going into this game, the Eagles were actually one of the best teams in the NFL at defending against tight ends. They're actually a top 5 team in the NFL, allowing a passer rating to tight ends throughout the regular season of just 80.5. Now, is all of them against Travis Kelce? No, he's pretty good. He's going to get his gunner, as you pointed out. Even if he's not racking up the yards, you could certainly look at him as a threat in the red zone. But that's at least one thing to look at, saying, Seth, or at least the Eagles have experience in shutting down tight ends.
Well, I think that Jonathan Gannon has got to go above and beyond what he's normally done to shut down tight ends. You talk about mixing up your coverages. I think that sometimes, you just got to put a guy on him. You know the guy that I really want to see on him? I want to see Kazir White on him. I think Kazir White is the one guy that can run with him, and he's physical enough to at least give him something at the line of scrimmage. And I'm not saying to just line him up by himself. And obviously you have to double him, okay? They're going to run a lot of motion to kind of figure out, okay, who's got him, how are they playing him? If he's tight, I line up my defensive end, and at the expense of being a step or two late in the pass rush, I want to jam him. And then after you jam him, have Kazir White jam him again. That almost certainly takes him out of the route, okay? When he's detached, you're going to have to run some combo coverages, almost like a box and one, if you will, where, you got 2 guys on him and everybody else We may be playing zone behind it. We may be playing man behind it, okay? But you got to introduce some things that you haven't done to make them have to make some adjustments on the sideline. Because if you go into this game with coverages as it was all season long, you've already given Andy Reid 2 weeks to kind of put all this together. If you're coming in with cover 4, cover 6, cover 1, cover 3, cover 2, just your basic coverages, your basic blitz coverage, you know right now that they've got an answer for it. And Patrick Mahomes is smart enough to pre-snap read it, and they're going to figure out a way to beat you. But to your point, I'd figure out a lot of different ways. I would play him. I would put Kazir White on him, and I would jam him, okay? And the one thing that teams don't do anymore is they don't play inside man anymore, And I get it. With the single high safety, the one route you're afraid of is the slot fade and the corner route, because good quarterbacks, they're going to look you up over here, come back to the corner route or the fade route on the other side. No way in the world that safety's going to get back over the top if you get beat. So everything they do is they try to funnel everybody inside. But the problem with inside coverage is you can run everybody off on this side and send Travis Kelce across the field, and the guy with outside technique, he's going to stutter him out and go inside, and he's going to be running away from him all day long. Now if you're going to run that, you better have some kind of combo coverage. Maybe you got in some of your man coverages, sometimes you see, they'll go too high and drop a safety in. Sometimes they'll go single high and take T.J. Edwards and play him in the hole. So maybe you kind of bait him. Maybe Kazir White is going to push him to T.J. Edwards. T.J. Edwards is going to knock his block off because he thinks that he's already, got him beat across the formation. It's just a myriad of different things that you have to do. That underneath coverage, man, I'm telling you, guys don't run it because the most important thing you have to do is you got to stay underneath the wide receiver. Anytime that you get even or you're behind him as a defender, psychologically you start thinking, oh, I'm beat. So what you want to do is you want to get even with him. Once you get even with him, now he feels you, he's going to work away from. Whether you're inside, he's going to work out. If you're outside, he's going to work in where he can feel you, but he can't feel you underneath. So stay underneath with the help over the top. So you close the out window, you close the in window, you close the seam window. The only one that hurts you is the corner route, but you got help over top. And with the help over top, you take away that and you double the seam route. Listen, there's a way to get it done, D-Gun. Most of these guys are just not versed in how to do it because how they play defense today.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Seth, with anything you just said. That is the way to do it. For all the kids at home, want to be football coaches one day, want to play the game, that's the way to do it. My only problem with that is the names attached to the position, and that's Kazir White and Trent Edwards. Gunnar, do you have faith that if you go about it by the book and the way Seth just described it, that those two men are talented enough to stop Travis Kelce?
No, you don't want to see T.J. Edwards and Travis Kelce. If you do, he'll have 20 catches in this game. That's the last person you want to see on Travis Kelce in this game. Kazir White.
Let me say this. Let me preface that whole dissertation. Those are change-up coverages. Those aren't coverages you're going to live in. Those aren't coverages.
He said push one or the other.
Hey, listen, you're not going to come out and give Patrick Mahomes a steady diet of that.
Right.
Okay? So if you're going to double him with the two linebackers, the intent is you want to jam him on the outside and let Travis think that he's already won to the inside, and then bring T.J. Edwards and blow his ass up from the inside when he's not looking. Now, you might get 1, 2. After that, guess what he's going to do? He's just going to, the minute he goes here, he's going to take it straight up the field and split them because neither one of them probably can run with him, okay? So I'm just saying, I'm not a steady diet, but these are the types of change-up things that I'm talking about that will throw them off and force Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid to have to do some adjusting on the sideline.
The mixture. It's a chameleon game. Basically for both sides, it's a chameleon game. I am going to say that you're going to see both offenses, both defenses, give the opposition something they have not been able to look at on film all season long, especially in the playoffs. Everybody has something in their arsenal of tricks at this point. When you get down to the last game of the season, it is the kitchen sink you throw at the opposition. You give them a different disguised look on defense. You give them a different formation look, and a different motion and a different play, a misdirection play on offense. We're going to see a cat and mouse game all day long. You have two creative offensive minds in this game today. I can't wait to see what both of them are going to pull out of their bag of tricks.
No, neither can I. And I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later on with our friend John McMullen. We'll also be going to Arizona to talk to John and our friend Joe Mess a little bit later in the program. And Adam Malamut will join us as well. We'll have more JAKIB Media pregame show ahead of Super Bowl 57.